If you are truly ready to start deep shadow working, this question may cause an emotional response in you. It could be, oh shit. It could be crying. It could be immediate turning off, hitting pause on the podcast because you're like, what the fuck? It could be anger. It could be like, what the fuck did she just ask me? Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy. I'm Morgan. Today we're going deep. Back in 2021, episode 37, I did the basics of shadow working. So if you need a beginner level, like what is shadow working type thing, I highly recommend you go back and listen to that adorable episode. And I will explain here in a second why I call it adorable. But start there. Today's episode is not that, okay? At the moment, I have it tentatively titled Deepening Your Shadow Work. I don't know if that's what this episode is going to be called, but this episode is not basic shadow working. That was back in 2021. So the last 4 years for me have been crazy, but especially the last year and a half, I have been on a deep shadow working journey. And so I have learned so much about myself, but also about shadow working in general. And that's why I was like, holy shit, I need to do a follow-up. I need to do like next level shadow working for those who are ready for it. So I even went back to episode 37 and I looked over my notes because I keep notes on everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a cute intro to shadow working episode. It's so adorable. It is so like, I can see now that 4 years ago, I was probably not doing true shadow working. I was doing some like scratching the surface, maybe going like a level down. And in the last year and a half, I have gone down to places that I didn't know existed in me. And that is what this episode is today, is deep shadow working. Okay. I have grown, I have transformed so much still since then. And don't get me wrong, it is still a gorgeous beginner episode. It gives you the definition of shadow working. It gives you some easy steps of, how to start shadow working, why you want to shadow work, all that kind of stuff. It is an amazing, if you have no idea what shadow working is, start there. Start with that episode, okay? Because it will get you started on shadow working. But today we're going deep, okay? This is for serious shadow working only, but if you don't know what shadow working is, I don't want you to not listen to today's episode, okay? What I want you to do, if you are interested in shadow working, is I want you to listen to today's episode, okay? If you're there, if you get it, if it resonates with you, then dive in. Start diving into deeper shadow working, okay? If not, then bookmark this episode for later so that when you get there, you can dive in. You have more of a blueprint, okay? And there is no shame if you are not there. When I went back to episode 37, that past Morgan would never have grasped the things that I've been through for the last year and a half. She was not able to handle it even 4 years ago. So there is no shame in if you are not ready to dive in, okay? This is your journey. Don't compare it to my journey, but understand that there is no shame. Don't hold shame over the fact if you hear today's episode and you're like, I don't want to answer that question, don't answer it. You're not ready. When you are ready though, you're going to be ready and you're going to be super excited about it. And yeah, okay. So So this episode is going to be what shadow working really is. I'm going to give you some questions. There's a lot of pages, you guys. I'm going to try to get through this quickly so we're not here for like a fucking hour. Why a lot of people stall or quit the deeper shadow working. And then like a mindset shift, or I'm going to go over some myths about shadow working as I wrap up, and then like a mindset shift to help you with the deeper shadow working. Okay. All right, let's dive in. So, a very brief recap. This is almost word for word from episode 37. Shadow working is a process of reflecting internally on your shadows. Okay. Your shadows are fears, traumas, bad habits, unhealed wounds, flaws, limiting belief, repressed energies, all of that kind of stuff. Okay. Those are shadows. And shadow working is the process on reflecting internally on them for the purpose of bringing them forward into the light so that you can become whole. Okay. That's the definition. I gave it in episode 37. It originates from Carl Jung. That's the definition. Okay. That's the basic definition of shadow working. Okay. What shadow working really is. It is a portal to your true power, your true authenticity, and being your whole self consistently and comfortably. Okay. It is befriending your shadows, acknowledging them, befriending them, and moving forward in your life, whatever that looks like with them. Okay. It is about being real with yourself, who you are, your true desires, your repressed rage, what makes you tick, what brings you pleasure, and living your truth regardless of others, like what others say you should be doing, or regardless of shame, guilt. We're getting rid of all of that. Okay. So I'm going to start off right here, first 7 minutes with a question. Okay. A question that will start you on the deep shadow working. Okay. I'm going to start off with a question. If you are truly ready to start deep shadow working, this question may cause an emotional response in you. It could be, oh shit. It could be crying. It could be immediate turning off, hitting pause on the podcast because you're like, what the fuck? It could be anger. It could be like, what the fuck did she just ask me? These are all emotional responses. Okay. If it causes an emotional response to you, doesn't matter what it is, anger, sadness, whatever, that's great. Okay. That means that you might be ready. If you have that emotional response and then you're like, you know what, I want to do this. Okay. Don't ever force yourself into something that you don't want to do, because then you'll resist it every single step of the way. So if it causes an emotional response and you're ready to move forward, then that's great. Let's do it. If it does not cause an emotional response to you, either you're already doing the deep shit and you're like, yeah, I asked myself that a year ago. What's next, Morgan? Or you're not ready, and that's perfectly fine. Again, no shame here. Shadow working is about ridding yourself of shame. Okay. So do not cause new shame over whether or not you're ready to do the deep shadow working. Okay. Here's the question. Where in your life have you been led to believe that you are either too much or not enough to be loved, to be accepted, or to even be given recognition or attention at all? Yeah. And for me, it was the too much. Where was I told I was too much in life? And even though that was a question asked to me a year and a half ago, I still get goosebumps when I think about it, because I think about how it made me feel when I first was asked that question. Where was I too much? So let that settle for a second. Pause if you need to, because we're going to go deeper. Okay. All right. We're going deeper. I'm asking you another question. And if you want to pause these and like actually journal them out, but I mean, like I suggest listening to the whole episode and then you can go back. Okay. Next question. Where in your life have you been made to feel like your desires, your opinions, your happiness are wrong, or that you are not worthy of them? I'm gonna let that one settle for a second too. Okay. Pause if you need to, because we're gonna go one step deeper. And that's it. That's all the steps I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna do the 3 questions for you all. But this last one's a doozy. Okay. So this last one even made me cry when I realized that that was the next step. And it's a question I have asked myself, a million times. I've journaled about it. I've worked through it a lot. But it's because this question is probably the one that changed me the most, getting to the bottom of this question. Okay. Where in your life have you abandoned yourself in order to be accepted, loved, or simply to survive? And what part of you did you have to bury to make that happen? And even right now, this question gives me goosebumps because it hits hard for those who understand it, who get it. Like when you hear that statement, or that question, where did you abandon yourself? You go, I did abandon myself. I put my wishes, my desires, my needs on the back burner to survive, to move forward, to be accepted by this person or this group. And for some of you, it could have even been your own parents, that question right there gets really far down. And of course, there are so many other questions you can ask yourself when shadow working, okay? But these 3 will give you a temperature gauge of where you are. Are you ready to dive into this hard stuff? Are you not? And either way, you're good, okay? But these are the types of questions that you ask yourself when you want to go deep. Yeah, deep. Okay. So what deep shadow working does is shines a light on the things, areas, people, concepts, thought patterns, behavior that you have buried in shame. That is what I have realized. Shadow working for me has been the most beneficial, is uncovering shit that I covered in shame, or it was covered in guilt for you by someone else. So someone else causes guilt, or something else, or something that someone says or does, or a way that you were raised causes guilt, but shame is internal. Shame is something you bring on yourself because you don't want to admit that part of you. Okay. What deep shadow working does is it rips off the Band-Aid to expose where you compromise or sacrifice yourself and your desires to either people please or put someone else's happiness first. It begs you to take off these masks and put your true self, forward in confidence and love for yourself. That is why you do shadow working. You do shadow working because you love yourself and you want yourself to be happy, truly happy. So in order to do that, you have to figure out where you've not been happy. And you have to figure out why. Why did I continue to do that for so long if it truly didn't bring me joy? Or maybe when you sit down and you think about it, that's the first time you realize that thing never brought you joy. You were doing it out of obligation. Okay? So a lot of people stall out or quit shadow working when the deep stuff starts to happen. When we start to get to the juicy part of your story, that's when people give up. That's when a lot of people give up. And I think, again, I think I said it on a past podcast. I believe that has a lot to do with people, spiritual people, witchy people that are on their path of discovery. they get to something down in there that they don't want to face. So the answer to them is to be saved by someone else. And then that's Jesus, because that's what Jesus does. He saves. So I feel like a lot of people who have been witches or, open spiritual people who then convert over to Christianity is because they want to be saved. They don't want to dig deeper into the darkness that they found, because that's painful. Okay. And we'll talk about all this today. But when I'm talking, and did I even finish that statement though? Yeah. So that's why they want to be saved by another person. They want to be saved by somebody else, because they don't want, they're unable or they're unwilling to face the dark shit that's down in there. Okay. But yes, a lot of people stall out or quit shadow working when the deep stuff starts to get uncovered. Why? Okay. There's so many different reasons, but these are the ones that I've identified in talking with people, talking with other witches who've done, who are always doing shadow working. The first one is, a lot of people stay on the awareness level because they think that just shining a light on the shadow is enough. And that's it. Like, oh, I shined a light on it. I know that that's one of my shadows. Therefore I'm doing the shadow working. Let me move on to the next one. And I want to say that 4 years ago, that was me with an asterisk to the side. I went the next level. So I would identify a shadow, and then I would ask why. Where did this come from? Why did this emerge? Why did this trigger me? And then I would get to the why, and I would journal, and I would look at it and go, oh, okay, cool. And that was it. Because I'm like, oh, I've identified the shadow. I have gotten to the bottom of the shadow, and that's it. That's shadow working, right? I accept it, so I'm cool. Let's move on, which is another thing that happens. And let me tell you, first of all, sometimes awareness is enough, okay? But the key to awareness is you have to integrate it afterwards, which is what the next part is, okay? A lot of people intellectualize, which is journal, identify. They intellectualize their shadow working, but they don't integrate it. They don't make it a part of themselves or their lives, okay? So I think that's what I was doing 4 years ago. And then earlier than that, there were a lot of shadows that I know I got to the bottom of. And those are the ones that caused the biggest transformations for me. So when I'm sitting in the bathroom, crying my eyes out in a puddle, like I don't know what to do next, and I start to analyze how I got to that point and the decisions that I made and how shit was my fault. Like, what was my fault? Not what was I putting blame on myself for, but what was truly my fault. And started to heal those wounds. Then I was able to move forward in life and heal past those traumas. Okay. But sometimes putting these two concepts together, you think, okay, I identified the shadow. I journaled a little bit about it. I got to the bottom of it. Oh, I know where that comes from. That came from this time when I was 7 years old and blah, 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 blah happened. Okay, cool. Well, I'm good. The shadow's good. Let's move on. But you don't integrate it into your life. You don't go, okay, well, if that part of me was never wounded, then how would I be acting differently? So you just start moving forward, having acknowledged the wound, having acknowledged the shadow, but you don't do anything to change your behaviors or change your thought patterns or change anything. You don't integrate it into your life at all. Okay. And that's what a lot of people do. And just like me 4 years ago, I thought, well, that's shadow working. I mean, I accepted it and I moved on. And for some of them, yeah, for some of them, that's all you need to do. You need to, give yourself love and compassion and surround the shadow, hug the shit out of it and be like, I love you, even though, this is happening, or even though I went through this, I still love myself. And that's healing it. That truly is. Sometimes it's just surface, and it's when you start to dig down and you really truly start to get in there and shake shit up that you immediately start to see like, oh, I said I wanted to heal that, but then like my anxiety skyrocketed. So if I truly would have healed that, then maybe I don't know if that would have happened, you know? Or you start to see where you weren't being true to yourself. You were maybe the next one treating shadow work like a project with check boxes instead of a true descent inward. Yeah. So for me, I think a lot of shadow working was like I understood the steps. And let me tell you guys, I am an extreme intellectual. I will read manuals to things to truly understand how to work them, and how to take them apart and how to put them back together. And like, I love knowledge. So for me as an intellectual, I live in my head a lot, which means I'm always thinking, but I'm always overthinking. I'm always overanalyzing. And a lot of my work and internal work stops at the thinking phase. Like, I think about it, I rationalize it, and then I don't do action. I don't perform actions that align with it. I think that, oh, if I just thought about it and I know why it's there, I know why I'm doing this, I'm good, then I can just move on, So I stay in my head a lot, okay? And shadow working is not a checkbox. It's not a list where you're like, okay, identified the shadow, journaled about it, accepted it. Now we can move on to the next shadow. Okay. Some of them are. Some of them, if you truly accept it, you surround it in love, you can move on. Some of them need more. And it's all for you to figure out as you go on this journey. Okay. Another reason is they spiritual bypass and they think this is peace. So again, naming a shadow, then like diving into it and then saying, okay, I know this about myself and I'm good with it. And you decide to not go any deeper, to even see if there's anything still down in there. And then you move on. That's spiritual bypassing. That's just putting a smile on your face and going, okay, I know this about myself now. Yay. And you just move forward without, you get to that point where you're like, a lot of people ask themselves, I did this. You ask yourself, is there more? And you get punched in the gut and you're like, I'm not going there. No, there's no more. I'm good. And then you just keep moving. That's spiritual bypassing. Okay. Now, if you ask yourself, is there more? And you truly sit in it and you get down in there and you're like, is there more to this shadow? And you don't have that. There, nothing happens. You will feel this calm come over you, okay? And it is a true peace and a true calm. You have gotten to the bottom of it. Now, from personal experience, I can tell you sometimes what happens, depending on what it is you got to the bottom of, sometimes it's absolute true peace. And you're good. Sometimes it is detachment, but it's from a state of, wow, I put up with that shit for too long. I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. And this peace washes over you and you're like, I'm good to cut that cord. And then you cut it and you don't ever look back because you healed it. Cutting the cord was healing it. Okay. And I know I'm jumping all over the place. I really hope that when this is said and done, it made sense and was coherent, because like I'm following my notes, but then I open myself like I do before recording podcast episodes. And I say, what am I supposed to say? If there are any messages that I'm supposed to have for somebody or for listeners, let me be a vessel for those messages. So, and I also, when I have the notes, I don't really put personal things sometimes in the notes, so if I can weave it in with personal experiences, then I try to. So like a great example of all of this, okay, because I think, okay, the last one is they get scared and choose to bury it again, but I'm gonna talk about that one separately, okay? So a great example of this is like after a breakup, with a relationship breakup or some type of relationship ending. It can't even be like a business relationship where you've lost a job or something like that, and you start to like, every time you hear that person's name, but usually it's a relationship, Every time you hear that person's name or something, you get bitter, you get angry. Like these are all triggers. These are all shadows. Like you have to get to the bottom of it. So let's say you start diving down and you're like, well, I'm pissed off that this person broke up with me because I really truly loved them. And you're like, yeah, but you were always fighting. And you start to dig down and you're like, yeah, I mean, I guess I really haven't been happy for like a year and a half. So then what happens is you're really mad at yourself for not having ended it a year and a half ago and having abandoned yourself and your true happiness to just stay in the relationship. But a lot of people don't want to get that far. They don't want to get down to, I wasn't happy truly, and I abandoned myself and put the devil I know above the devil I don't know, or I put this person ahead of me. And they don't want to get down to that. So then once you get down to there, and you're like, I fucking abandoned myself. And I went through with this and I stayed in this relationship for far too long when there were no benefits. Let's get down to it. And then you have shame and guilt around it, and then you feel bad again. So that's when a lot of people pull out, like, oh my God, I abandoned myself. Now I'm covered in shame. Let me pull out. This is too much. I can't go any deeper. Okay. But you go back in. And you're like, well, first of all, I'm not going to feel shame or guilt because I did not know then what I knew now. I did not have the power then that I have now. I did not have the understanding of who I was and what I wanted then that I do now. So no shame, no guilt. I did what I needed to survive. And at that time, it was staying in that stupid fucking relationship. Okay. So now you've gotten to the bottom of that. And what washes over you is I love myself, regardless of whether or not I stayed in that relationship far longer than I should have. I love myself anyway. And I'm going to love myself even more as I move forward. And your pain heals, and you can now hear that person's name without getting triggered. Someone comes and says, oh, so-and-so's getting married. And you're like, cool, that's good. And like I said, sometimes you heal it and you can forgive and you can move forward. Sometimes you heal it and you go, wow, all right, I don't want to ever have contact with that person again. Like that really was a toxic relationship. And now that I see that, I'm going to cut the cord and move forward. Yeah. And you energetically cut the cord and move forward. This is not spiritual bypassing, Spiritual bypassing is stopping 17 steps above that and then moving on, thinking that you're healed. But now you've gotten down to the true pain and the true origin of why are you so mad that relationship ended. And it could be that, I'm not saying it is, but it could be that maybe you've been unhappy for a while and you should have been the one to end it. And you had to get to the bottom of that. So that's a great example. I'm really glad that it kind of dropped in because I understand trying to tell people, like, oh, you journal about it, but you don't integrate it. Like integrating it is going deeper, but it's now being like, I'm going to be the person that holds my head up high and that puts myself first in a fucking relationship. And at the first red flag of a relationship, I'm fucking out. And you redefine your non-negotiables. I mean, these are ways you integrate, using that example, these are ways you integrate that into your life. Okay. You don't just journal about it and go, well, I was really sad because we spent 2 years together and it was really great. And I'm okay with it now, and then you move on and then somebody mentions their name to you and you get triggered all over again. That means you didn't do the shadow working. Okay. All right. So what I said before, they get scared and choose to bury it again. And looking at time, we're going long today. Okay. We're going long, but this is a really great shadow working or the shadow season, which Mabon is when day and night were of equal length. So the day after Mabon, nights become longer than the days. So we are technically in the shadow season now. And a lot of witches choose to work with the energy of the dark season to dive inside themselves and to go in on this inner descent. Okay. So that's why I wanted to cover shadow working again. Plus, I just needed to update it, you guys. We're going deep. All right. So a reason why people quit shadow working when they get to the deep stuff. Another reason, and this is a huge one, and this is why I'm going to expand on it. they get scared and choose to bury it again. Okay. And we're pulling this one out because I need you all to understand something about shadow working. Okay. And something about your nervous system. And I know that I have mentioned this in past episodes. I don't know if I can remember. I can't remember off the top of my head which ones. Okay. Shadows, your shadows are there. And I would venture to say most, if not all, of your shadows are there to protect you. Okay, and protect is in quotation marks, okay? And this can be shadows put onto you by a parent, a boss, a spouse, something like that. But then they stick around because they're there to protect you. And what I mean by that is, let's say you walk by a random stranger on the street who yells out to you, "You suck." And for most of us, you're going to be like, "I don't fucking suck, you suck," or whatever. Like, "I don't suck. You don't even know me. Shut up." And that's it. That's the most interaction. That is the most thought you give to you sucking. Okay. But for someone who was, let's say, told that by a significant other, or told that by a parent when they were a child, that's a trigger. This random person says you suck, and all of a sudden you start spiraling, and you're like, "Oh my God, my dad used to tell me that I sucked," or my boyfriend in 7th grade used to tell me that all the time. Like, oh my God. And you internalize and you start. So therefore, that interaction is a shadow within you. Okay. So what has happened is shadows are there to protect you. They help you put up walls. They help you put up boundaries. They help, quote unquote, keep you safe. Okay. Some shadows come from trauma. So of course, never thinking about it is easier and less painful than actually thinking about it. Okay. So you have to understand your nervous system's job is to do two things. It is to keep you safe and keep you alive. That is what your nervous system does. It keeps you safe and it keeps you alive. Your nervous system is responsible for fight or flight. Your nervous system is responsible for perceiving threats around you and telling you, "There's a dinosaur coming, it's time to run." Okay? Your nervous system, its job is to keep you safe and alive. Okay? So, when faced with anything that threatens your safety or your life, your nervous system's job is to adjust and tell you whatever it needs to tell you to keep you safe and alive. Okay, so for some people, this is shutting down. This is why you see people in traumatic situations black it out. Their nervous system said, "This is too much for you to handle. We don't remember this." And it floods your body with basically a brainwashing chemical that blocks you from making a memory of that. Okay. So things like reliving painful memories or events isn't safe, quote unquote, safe to your nervous system. So no, we're not talking about that. Calm down. We're not talking about it. Just bury it and move on. That's what your nervous system does. We're going to bury it and move on. I don't want you thinking about that. Think about puppies and kittens and ice cream cones. Okay, let's start thinking about that. And so all of a sudden you start to go into fight or flight. You're like, "That person told me I sucked, and that reminds me of this time when I was 7 years old." Your brain goes, your nervous system goes, "No. We're not thinking about that. Think about puppies." And you're like, "Oh, puppies." Your nervous system has just done its job. It's keeping you safe. It's keeping you alive. Okay. So change is safe. Change is not safe. Change is scary. So if change starts to come up, or if you're faced with something that is completely different than anything you've ever known, your nervous system goes, no, bad. We don't go down that road because we don't know what's there, and I have to keep you safe. So I'm going to flood you with anxiety so that whenever you think about moving forward, you have anxiety. But when you think about staying here, exactly where you are safe and you don't feel anxiety. Your nervous system has now done its job. It's keeping you safe. It's keeping you alive. So your own systems are working against you as you do shadow work. Okay. unless you create safety around shadow work. And this is what I had to do. Okay. Therapy definitely helps, especially if you have to trust your therapist, period. Please tell me if you're in therapy and you don't trust your therapist. That's a whole nother topic. So if you have a trusted therapist and you're doing shadow working in therapy, I highly recommend it because you trust that person to help you do this safely and to keep your nervous system regulated in a safe way. Okay. For me, and this is just a glimpse into me and my shadow working, I am the type of person, I have been my entire life, I would rather know the thing than not know the thing. And I don't care how painful it is. I don't care how I could react to the information. I don't know how I'm going to react to the information until I have the information. So I have to be given the information so that I can then figure out how to process it. Is it screaming? Maybe. Is it crying? Maybe. Is it taking a car to a baseball bat, a baseball bat to a car? Maybe. Depends on the information. But you have to give me the information first, and then I have to figure out how I'm going to process it, okay? So that's how I view everything in life. I don't care how painful the information is. Give it to me, and I will figure out how to process it, how I'm going to feel about that information. Don't withhold the information from me because you're, quote unquote, trying to protect me. No, 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 no. And that's what I've told my nervous system. No, 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 no. I need to know the information so that I can process it. Thank you for trying to keep me, quote unquote, safe. But I know what's safe for me, and that's knowing the information. Does this mean I have a lot of shit in my head I probably shouldn't? 100%. And I know which things to put in a little box and put on a shelf. And I have talked with my therapist about all of these. And one day we will pull those things off the shelf and I will unpack them. I'm not putting them on the shelf to bury them or suppress them. I'm putting them on the shelf because I'm not able at this moment to process them. But I do plan, I am bookmarking them to come back later. And I have every intention because not knowing what's fully in that box in the back of my head drives me nuts. Okay, this is just how I'm wired, and I understand I'm wired way differently than a lot of people. A lot of people think what they don't know won't hurt them. Okay, I am a firm believer that what you don't know will drive you insane, because that's what it does to me. Okay, so this is me in life and with my nervous system. I want to know the thing. I can't process it and heal from it and move forward if I don't know what it is. Okay. So for me, knowing no matter what it is better than not knowing. And for me, shadow working is safer than being in the dark. So that's how and why. When I finally made the decision a year and a half ago that I was presented with a program to help me truly dig in there. And everything in me said, fuck yes, let's do this. And there was a part of me that's like, what if we uncover crazy shit in there? But I trusted the person that was doing the program. So I said, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm excited. And I wanted to see how many layers I could peel back and what was truly hidden underside. I viewed it with so much curiosity, even as I got down to shit. Okay. So understanding this entire concept about your nervous system can help you dig deeper, especially when viewed with curiosity or an attitude of, I want to know this about myself so that I truly know who I am. I don't like surprises. Okay, this is why on the surface, I hate a fake haunted house. A fake one that they like put on at Halloween. I would rather go into a house that I know is being inhabited by demons and ghosts, like truly, than go into a fake haunted house. I hate being fake scared. I hate it. I hate being surprised. Like if we were doing like a surprise party, I'd be fine. You know, like a good, oh, surprise, it's your birthday. But I hate being surprised. So that philosophy goes internally as well. I hate being surprised. If I finally make up my decision to move forward on something and I have my entire nervous system or shadows popping up going, surprise, I'm here, surprise, anxiety, surprise, stomach issues, surprise, I fucking hate it. Like, I need to get to the bottom of this shit because y'all are fucking with my flow forward. Okay? I hate being surprised, and that's internally as well. Okay? Um, so adopt a mindset that you don't do shadow work, that you surrender to it to get to know yourself better. You're working in a relationship with shadow working. You have to trust yourself as you dig down, and you have to trust that you'll be supported. You have to trust yourself to support yourself. So you have to create that safety within yourself first so that you can then dive down. Okay. A few myths about shadow working as I wrap up here, and I promise I'm wrapping up. This is a long episode. So a few myths about shadow working. The first one is it has to be painful to be real. This is not true. Some shadows, when you finally shine a light on them and you admit them, man, you feel fucking free as hell. And for me, I can say that this equates for a lot of us, or a lot of you listening, to maybe that when you came out of the broom closet. Or if you're gay, when you came out of the closet, was there some pain involved? Of course, you were scared. You didn't know if telling this person that you were a witch or telling this person that you were gay, you didn't know how they were going to accept it, but you needed to do it for you. You needed to be free. And once you admitted it to yourself and then you came out, man, you felt free. You're like, fuck yes. This is who I am. So, there can be some pain involved. There can be a lot of pain involved, but it's not all pain all day. Okay. Number 2, it means you're broken. Shadow working does not mean you're broken or that you need to be fixed. Okay. This is simply a mindset shift. Understanding that you are not broken is a huge part of shadow working. You aren't broken. You don't need fixing. You have to think of shadow working as getting to know all parts of yourself. There's some you don't know about yet. And then accepting and healing them, not fixing broken parts. So this is a mindset. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed, but you do have parts of you that you don't even know exist. So you want to explore. You want to dig deeper. You want to get to know your true self. Okay. It's just like when you start a new relationship with somebody. Do you never, ever, ever want to know anything about them? No, you do. You want to know everything about them. You want to know what makes them happy, what makes them sad. You're just so curious. You have to view yourself the same way. Okay. Number 3, you can't do shadow work when you're happy. That's another myth. That, oh, you can only do shadow work when the shit has hit the fan and that's when you need to do shadow work. You can do shadow work whenever the fuck you want to. Okay. And when you're happy, you most certainly can and should do shadow work from the standpoint of, wow, life is going really well right now. I love myself. I love my relationships, but it's not an analyzing from like let me break this down to tear it apart. It's an analyzing for like, what is the recipe of happiness for myself? Like, okay, this is going really well. I'm really expressing myself here. Like, get down to what is truly making you happy. Is it that your partner is finally listening to you? Is it that you're actually doing challenging work at work and you're getting the recognition for it? You know, is it that you said the damn thing and got it off of your chest? Is it that you really do love this one thing when you never wanted to admit it before, but now you're like, I really love that and I'm going to do more of it? What is it that's making you happy? So shadow working when you're happy is great too. Okay. Another myth, shadow work is only about healing trauma. Technically, it's not. Technically, shadow work is about reclaiming your power. That's what shadow work boils down to. Okay. Whatever that means to you, whatever reclaiming your power means to you. Does that mean healing? It does. Does it mean taking your power back from somebody or something that you get triggered every time their name comes up or every time somebody says something about them or anything? Yes, that's what it also means. Okay. But it means reclaiming your power stating your desires, being true to yourself and not abandoning yourself anymore. And then the last thing is a myth. It's separate from your magic. No, shadow working and magic go hand in hand. Reclaiming your power is what fuels your magic and makes sure that what you truly want is what you're manifesting in life. I know I talked about this in episode 124, Why Didn't My Spell Work? Your shadows can manifest for you. So if you're not admitting that you really don't want that new job that you keep casting a spell for, if you don't admit it, like, you know what, maybe I really don't want that job, then that little shadow is screaming inside of you, going, you're casting a spell to get that job, and your shadow is screaming, no, we don't want this job. And then you don't get the job. And then you're like, what the fuck, my magic doesn't work. Okay, so I know I talked about it in episode 124. So bringing it all together, shadows are your allies. Where you get triggered, what causes anxiety, that emotion you think you shouldn't, quote unquote, have, these are all teachers. These are all portals of transformation, and these are all invitations for you to dive deeper into yourself. That is what shadow working is. All of these things that you have shame and guilt around are teachers for you to help you reclaim your power. How can you love yourself more? How can you shout your pleasures and your desires from the rooftop? How can you move forward in your power, knowing that this is truly what you want because this is truly who you are? That's the purpose of shadow working, is reclaiming your power. So yeah, that's what I have for you all today. Now that we're sitting at the 46-minute mark. So for my bonus Patreon content this week, I am going to share my most recent shadow working journey and what I revealed about myself. And this is one that literally just happened earlier this week. So it's one I haven't been able to share on the podcast before. So to gain access to all of the Patreon bonus content for every episode, I mean, it's not every episode I've ever done because I just started doing Patreon like a year ago. So, but you can head to patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. There are 3 tiers, but the cheapest tier is $5, and that gets you access to the bonus content for all the episodes that I've been able to do so far. So that's what I have for you all today. I want to thank you for being here. I definitely want to know your thoughts on this episode. So especially on YouTube, Instagram, on Spotify, the comments are delayed a little bit. Like it takes them like 2 or 3 days to actually notify me that I have comments, but definitely on Instagram and YouTube. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode, if it was helpful for you, if it's something you're going to bookmark and come back to later. If there's any other deep questions that you've ever done, if you've done the deep shadow working, I want to talk about it. Let's talk about it in the comments. So thank you all for being here, for giving me a platform to share my knowledge, my experience, my journey, my words, and I will see you all next week. Bye.